Hello, I'm Rocket. Welcome back to the Virtual Presence Hierarchy of Needs program. This module is about the sixth need, your camera. The TLDR, too long didn't read for this topic, is this is the last of the needs for a reason. Because here's the thing. You can have a really great camera, but without good lighting, good framing, good audio, your virtual presence is compromised. I don't have anything against laptop cameras. Similar to the adage that the best camera is the one that's with you, if you only have a laptop webcam, then use it. Be sure to review the framing and background video for tips on how to get the best out of it. An external camera offers a higher degree of flexibility and most of the time, higher quality. The first decision you're going to need to make is about what type. Are you going to get a webcam, or are you going to get a mirrorless or DSLR camera with interchangeable lenses? Now for this video, anytime I say mirrorless camera, think of that as a proxy term for mirrorless or DSLR camera that has interchangeable lenses. When it comes to webcams, I could recommend the Logitech Brio 4K and the Insta360 Link PTZ. Mirrorless cameras have higher quality and more flexibility than webcams, but often come with higher complexity and expense. You'll need a way to connect the camera to your computer to send video output. Some of the latest mirrorless cameras have USB-C connections that send that video. But for those that don't, you're going to need to connect through HDMI. And in that case, you're going to need a way to convert from HDMI to USB. Two things mirrorless cameras need: clean output and a constant power source. Okay, three things. You're going to need a way to mount the camera. Check out the lighting video for mounting options. Later in the video, I'll make a few mirrorless camera recommendations, but there's so many variables that I'm not going to make a recommendation in this TLDR part. Webcams are super convenient. They're plug and play, portable, and usually small. If you're shopping for webcams, look for those where you can change your field of view, or you can zoom in and out. This is going to help you be front and center in the frame. Most webcams have a way to mount to your top of your monitor, and the more versatile ones have mounting screws so you can put them on a stand. Some of the newer cameras have PTZ or pan-tilt zoom capabilities, as well as AI tracking that follows you around. This is great if you have to move around your area. And I have some recommendations for webcams. The first is the Insta360 Link PTZ. This camera has good quality, and it has AI tracking that follows you around. There's some features that make it stand out from the crowd. One is desk view mode. In this mode, the camera points 45 degrees down toward your desk. The surface of your desk is flipped and cropped so that it's shown as if if you're sitting at your desk. This is great if you'd like to have a piece of paper as a sketchpad during a video call. People in the call will see that piece of paper right side up, and it's like they're sitting at your desk. And if you want to travel with this camera, there's third-party carrying cases available, and the camera runs around $300 US. Another related option is the Osspot Mini 4K, and similar to the Insta360 Link, it's a PTZ camera with AI tracking. It's a bit larger than the Insta360 Link, and it's bulkier to travel with. These are around $270 US, and if you have to choose between the two and you can afford it, definitely go with the Insta360 Link. The last of the recommendations is the Logitech Brio 4K. This is a good all-around camera that has ways to adjust that field of view. I recommend setting that field of view to around 65 degrees to get you front and center. Now, a pro tip with these cameras is the mounting option does come off the camera. And here's the thing. You're going to want to search Logitech Brio mounting in YouTube to see how it's done. And once you remove it, there is a mounting screw exposed. These cameras run around $170 US. There are lower cost webcams out there that might work for you. Now, I don't have any specific recommendations for $100, under $100, but you can search YouTube for budget webcams. It's a great way to see comparisons and get recommendations. Like I said before, if you're doing it that way, look for webcams that allow you to set your field of view as well as have mounting options. There are so many different types of mirrorless and DSLR cameras out there, as well as interchangeable lenses. It's difficult to narrow down this field. I can make two recommendations. The first one is the Panasonic Lumix G7 with 14 to 140 millimeter lens. This camera runs just under $500 US, lower if you find a used one, and it's a decent price for what you get. In addition to the camera and the lens, you're going to need a way to mount the camera, a dummy battery for power, and an interface into your computer. Now, these can run another $150 to $500 depending on what you're doing and what your setup is. Now, the included lens is capable of a nice shallow depth of field, which naturally blurs your background. The autofocus on these cameras are just so-so. You're going to have to work with manual focus. And if the camera's far away, that can get a little tricky, so you might need to involve a second person. Now, what is it with those millimeter numbers when I was talking about lenses? Now, this is another deep water topic, but it's worth a quick review. While there are a lot of types of lenses out there, for this purpose, we're going to talk about two. The first one is fixed focal length, or prime lenses. They don't have any zoom capabilities. Now, if you're going to go this direction, be sure you know what you're getting, because the only way to zoom in and out is to move the camera. The second type of lens is variable focal length, also known as zoom lenses. These have a range of close-up and far away. How close and far away they go are represented by those two numbers. The wider apart those numbers, the more range the zoom in and out is. To calibrate, 50 millimeters is considered a natural looking distance. The lens I recommended with that Panasonic has 14 to 140 millimeter range, which is fairly flexible, especially given that price tag. And if you go with the Lumix G7, pay attention, as there are similar packages that have a 14 to 42 millimeter lens, and that's not great for these setups. The next recommendation I have is the Sony a7 IV. Now, if you're going to pick one of these up, I recommend a lens that has something around 24 to 70 millimeter range, especially if that's your first lens. It's versatile for video calls. This camera is on the pricier side. The body costs around $2,500 US. There are some bundles out there that have the body, one or two lenses, and a bunch of accessories that run around $3,000 US. The color on these cameras are terrific, and the autofocus is stellar. This is one of the things Sony is known for. This might be over the top for your day-to-day setup, unless you're doing a lot of high-stakes presentations and high-stakes calls. And when it comes to connections, there are a lot of options out there to get the camera connected into your computer as a video input source. Webcams tend to be USB, so they're simple. Some of the new mirrorless cameras also have that USB-C input. Now, and these are easy to work with because you're just plugging those straight into your computer and they show up as a webcam. Cameras with HDMI outputs need some kind of adapter that converts HDMI to USB so that it shows up as a webcam. I'm going to cover two methods for converting HDMI to USB. The first one is the single adapter, also known as an HDMI capture card, and the second one is the video switcher. For the HDMI capture card option, I've used the Elgato Camlink 4K. This runs around $125 US. Alternatively, I found some generic versions that do 1080p 60 for less than $40 US. And currently, the highest resolution supported by video conference systems is 1080p, so that generic option may be sufficient for your purpose. The second option is a video switcher. This is useful when you have multiple HDMI inputs and want to quickly change between those inputs. You can also do things like picture-in-picture and graphics overlays with video switchers. The inputs into the switchers can be computers, cameras, tablets, basically almost anything with an HDMI output. Modern video switchers have a USB-C output that connects into your computer and acts like your webcam. And one of the more powerful, affordable video switchers is the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. The base model has 4 HDMI inputs and a USB-C output. A way to use this video switcher is to have a main camera, maybe a second camera, and your computer all as inputs. This setup allows for some seriously interesting configurations. First off, it's an alternate way to do screen sharing. When you connect your computer into the video switcher, it acts as a second display. Now you can quickly share your screen by switching to that input on the video switcher instead of fumbling for the screen share method. Now, note that this entire screen is going to be shared. You can also do picture-in-picture during a presentation. The basic ATEM Mini has this picture-in-picture controls, so you can show your computer screen and your main camera at the same time. Now, this can really help with participant engagement because you're going to be seeing you as well as your screen share. You can also set up a whiteboard or overhead camera. Now, this is great if you have a whiteboard that you need to stand at, or if you have overhead that you want to have a piece of paper where you can illustrate something. Now, last of these scenarios is the telestration. This is pretty advanced. You can connect your tablet running a drawing app or a note-taking app into your ATEM, and then you can use the keying capabilities to create what's called a telestration effect. This is when you draw on a tablet and what you draw on that tablet shows up on your screen. The setup takes some work, but personally I found it worth the investment since I do a lot of this. If you're interested in that telestration, look for a separate video about it, or just get in touch. When it comes to video switchers, I prefer the hardware-based ones. I find them more reliable and they're not subject to my computer's resource utilization. At the same time, there's a lot of really great software-based switchers out there, such as OBS and vMix. With software switchers, you're going to need ways to connect your camera to the computer, either directly with a USB input through HDMI capture cards or over the network using NDI. All right, I realize I've introduced a new term, NDI. This is a way you can send video and audio over a network connection. Now, if you're interested in this, I recommend searching Getting Started with NDI or Getting in Touch. There's a handful of things you want to watch out for when it comes to cameras. First off, it's easy to get obsessed with cameras. There is power and beauty in creating pictures and recording video, and that can draw you in. Just be aware of it. Now, as a result, I've talked with people who've asked about cameras and what they should get, and they haven't even thought about good audio or their lighting. I don't recommend starting with your cameras. You're way better off starting with your network connectivity and your audio quality than working on your lighting. A rule of thumb is this: if you have to prioritize between audio and video, it's way better to have great audio and not so great video than it is to have bad audio and great video. At some point, you may want to learn about things like white balance, especially if you travel to places that have different lighting configurations. Auto white balance is perfectly fine and may work for you most of the time. Learning about how to set your white balance gives you more options and flexibility when you encounter situations that may need more manual control. If you have lights with temperature controls, try starting at 5600K and see where you go from there. If you don't have lights with temperature controls, there are apps out there that help measure white balance. One of them is KEVWB or KEV white balance. This app is good if you need to manually set your white balance in your camera and you want to match those in the room. Now, I've included some links to some great YouTube videos I found helpful when learning about white balance and color temperature. Similar to white balance, at some point, it may be worth learning about ISO, exposure, f-stop, shutter speed, all the interesting things like that, especially if you find yourself in situations where you want to have a lot of control over the picture quality. Some webcams have the ability to change some of these things. Almost all mirrorless cameras, at least the ones I know of, have the capability to manually set these things. And how deep you go in this depends on how much control you want. I don't cover these topics like ISO and white balance, not because they're super complicated, but because you don't necessarily need to know that library of camera terms just to get started. I find it perfectly okay to start with auto settings in your camera, and as you gain more experience and want more control over your picture quality, then you can learn more about those other settings. And philosophically, when it comes to being book smart versus learning through practical experience, I'm usually in favor of the practical experience when it's safe. As I finish up, I just want to say the topic of cameras is as deep as it is wide. It's easy to get lost in this topic. I will continue to emphasize getting sorted with your network, your audio, and your lighting before thinking about cameras. When you work with your camera setup, think about how you're going to use it. Here's a few scenarios. If you have a stationary setup, work on getting that camera mounted in a solid location. If you need to move between a few places in a single room, think about multiple cameras, one in each station, or get a PTZ camera that follows you. If you're going to travel, think about the size, weight, and convenience of that camera setup. If you're going to give lots of high-stakes presentations or on high-stakes calls, think about investing in a mirrorless camera so you can get that nice, shallow depth of field with a naturally blurred background. Now, if you really want a knowledge boost about this, I recommend checking out Office Hours Global. Point your browsers to officehours.global to get started. At Office Hours, Every day, you can ask questions of an incredibly experienced panel that has deep knowledge in audio, video, lighting, virtual reality, event production, computer modeling, logistics, and more. Now, this is just one in a series of videos about the virtual presence hierarchy of needs. Be sure to check out the rest of them so you get the full picture. And with that, I'm Rocket, and thanks for watching.